I'm going to make a broad statement here, and we'll narrow it down as we go. I believe that leadership is built on a small handful of abilities, and you have the power to develop and level up each and every single one of them. So let's talk about that. Welcome back to the Keeping Everything Simple podcast. I'm your host, Michael Klukas, and this is the show where we boil down complex topics into simple, actionable tips that you can use to create a life and career that you love. And if you want to improve your leadership and your career, you got to start with the basics. Leadership is all about inspiring others. Because leadership is all about inspiring others, it's probably going to be best that we set the stage here. If you had seen the last episode or listened to the last episode, in that huge figures or huge historical figures make it feel like leadership's kind of unattainable. But hear me out here. This idea that one individual can unite people under a common cause, a common purpose, or even just a collected interest. This idea that someone can word exactly what the collective or what that group wants, desires, thinks, feels, that right there is the power of a leader. It's the idea that, say, you're part of a small niche community of moviegoers where you really like these kind of cult classics and you really think, okay, it'd be great to have these cult classics really given the love they deserve. And you want to make sure that the people in that community, the people that also share that same value, share that same feeling, are able to take part in this and are able to donate or benefit the quote-unquote cause of getting these classics out there, getting them to be seen by more people, and growing the community. That is a way in which you can inspire people. For those of you who like superhero movies, it's the Marvel versus DC is a continual debate. And personally, I like both of them. And you can't fault me for that because Nightwing is awesome, but so is Spider-Man. So yeah, it is what it is. But there's so many things that people will do. There's been petitions for certain characters. People have gone out and created their own comics based on these characters as well, these own storylines, and people flock to them. People want to consume these different types of content, and they're all based around a certain niche, a certain interest, and it inspires people. It motivates them, and it makes them feel good. That is what it means when leadership is about inspiring. Because when you inspire someone, that moves them into motivation. If you can inspire them consistently and in a way that truly resonates with that core belief or core values that they hold, they will feel motivated to either follow you, take that next step with you, or take that next step for you. Being able to actively motivate a large group of people is in and of itself a monumental task. I can't think of really anyone in the world. And this is, again, with all the great figures out there who, if they couldn't motivate anyone, would be where they are today. Pretty plain and simple. For people in today's world, this is going to be a weird example, but I'm going to use the Henry Cavill as The Witcher. There's a petition right now that is, out and about to fire the writers of the show because Henry Cavill, being a huge geek and a huge nerd, is very faithful to source material. And that's motivated people after he's left the show to be like, oh, if this is the actual reason that he's left, then let's get him back and remove the writers, because why wouldn't we want to have the person that values the same thing we value in there running a show in a way in which we know they'll be faithful to it? So that motivated them to take action, to create that petition. It's just overall this core idea that without motivation, there is no action. You can inspire someone, but if they don't take that next step and that next leap of faith, then it's going to be very hard to get momentum going, because it's easier. And again, this is going to Newton's laws and physics, is that an object in motion stays in motion. And I would kind of equate that to a movement in motion stays in motion. It may, lose steam at times. It may pick up steam at others. But overall, if you're motivating people to take action consistently, you will make strides. You will make progress. And that is, in of itself, a skill anyone can develop. It just takes a lot of time and dedication, which is the thing that you have to put in to make it happen. And now it goes to the medium of, well, if I want to inspire people and I want to motivate people, how do I do that? Storytelling. I don't remember where I was listening to it. It was probably another podcast in which the host had said the most sold book in the entire world is the Bible. And I identify as Christian. So the thing is, I don't know a whole lot of, pieces of the Bible. However, I remember the stories of the Bible. And that was the point the host had made, is that we may know like things in the 10 Commandments and everything, but it may be hard to actually list them all off one by one unless you've spent time trying to memorize it and dedicating time to that. However, we remember stories very, very easily and very, very well. So wanting to motivate and inspire people to do something, stories are such a powerful medium of doing so. And that if you can tell a good story, if you can captivate an audience and you can make them feel like they have to do something, if you can make them want to take action, that right there is so powerful in your ability to lead others, but also just to make a huge impact on the lives around you. And again, this is also a skill that takes a lot of time. And you won't perfect it right away unless you have a natural inborn gift for storytelling, in which you aren't, part of the majority there. You're an outlier. But that's good because the world needs those as well. The ability to tell a good story, the ability to say, this is the message I want you to take away. How can I kind of wrap it up, put some neat little packaging on it, get a little bow on top, and send it out to the listener, to the community, to the group, and have it land just the right way. Have it hit all the right notes and have them feel some type of emotion deep inside, because the ability to invoke emotion in of itself is the core of marketing, but also the core of storytelling, because to be able to tell such a good story that people actively want to go do something because they feel so much joy from a story that they just heard about a positive impact that happened, or they're hearing about all the bad that is going out in the world, but it's told in a story form that makes them want to go help someone and do good. That is the power of telling a good story in a good way. And I fully admit, I myself still need to work on this. I'm actually really bad, at least I personally believe so, at telling a compelling story. To be able to say, yes, the life in which I've led has got me here. And there's been a lot of hardship and there's been a lot of trial. And just like you guys, I want to be able to improve my life and my career, because there's only so much I can do on my time, with my time on this planet. And because of that, I want to lead the best life possible. I want to lead a career that makes me happy and does good, that leaves a net positive impact on the world. However, just saying that, it can be fine. And for some people, that's, oh, cool, that's actually really neat. But it's not a story. And this is where I'm still learning, because I can't fully just craft a story from the get-go that is super, super compelling, that is super motivating, and actually makes people feel an emotion that they didn't expect to. And among emotions, the next skill is honestly just learning how to manage your relationships very well. This is for either your personal life, your professional life, whatever it is, you have to learn how to manage your relationships. And that also means managing your emotions in some capacity. So say if you're married or if you're in a long-term relationship, then you may have a really bad fight with your partner. You may leave the house in the morning to go to work with tension still being between you two. And you haven't had time to unfortunately resolve the issue that caused it. And that can be hard. There can be a lot of stress and anxiety surrounding that, and there can be just the underlying frustration and anger still too. But you still have to get through the day. You still have to do your work. You still have to work with your team. You still have to be able to bring your best and put your best foot forward. So you have to learn to manage your relationships. So if it's with your people at work, it's knowing, hey, I have a shorter fuse today. I can tell that. I can see that. I don't have to necessarily tell them this, at least not overtly the reason for it, but I can say, hey, there's a lot going on right now. I may not be operating at my best. And if you guys can give me a little bit of time, I'll get back to you in the swing of it. However, I just want to put this on your radar. You're managing that relationship, you're managing the expectation, and you're not letting things just go underneath the rug. And that also goes back to your personal life, that you do have to work on your personal relationships. You do have to be able to maintain healthy outside relationships outside of your career, so that way that can bolster the quality of your life. And then from work, you may have friends that actually are, friends outside of work as well, and that's okay. But you still have to be able to manage relationships. And when I say manage, I really just mean emotionally regulate as necessary. So necessary is the key word there. But then also being able to just dive deeper with people, being able to support one another in ways in which, a personal relationship may not be the same as a work relationship. It's just finding these key differences and working on those relationships and just working to continue to foster that relationship. And when I talk about emotional regulation and everything in the relationship category, this really also boils down to, the topic of last week's episode and last week's podcast, the ability to be mindful and self-aware, because it starts with you. So being able to inspire others, it's being self-aware of what inspires you. Being mindful of what you feel, so that way you can understand what you want to make others feel as you try to motivate them. And then just being, again, as a whole, combine those together, self-aware and mindful, you can help manage your relationships by really working on what you're feeling, working on not letting emotions or the moment jump into the driver's seat, but you always have your hands on the steering wheel. You are always in charge of the boat. You're always in charge of the vehicle, whatever it is. You are taking time to say, I need to step back, reevaluate, and then step forward. Again, all these skills are just small little pieces. However, what you do with them depends largely on how much time you invest in them. Learning how to tell a good story, you can learn to do so in a way in which if you dedicate time to it, that ability and that skill will just grow and grow and grow. Using that to learn how to inspire people, using that to learn how to motivate people, learning to manage your relationships and your connections, and also being mindful and self-aware. All these skills are something that you can learn no matter what stage you are in life, no matter what stage you are at in life. Being able to develop them just takes time. It takes intention and it takes effort. It's not always going to be easy. There's going to be times in which you feel like you're going to hit a wall, and you probably will. It's the ability to climb that wall, go around that wall, or make your way through it. That's going to determine just how far you will be able to take that skill. Here is my challenge to you. Think on this question. What makes you want to lead others or change the world around you? Remembering that leadership demands self-awareness and mindfulness, but think on what inspires you and motivates you and how you're going to better deliver that message to others. So that's the challenge to you. Keeping everything simple, subscribe to this podcast on YouTube if you haven't already, or on your favorite podcast app. Be sure to give the show a rating on iTunes. It helps other people just like you discover the show as well and helps us out so much. Have an amazing day, you amazing people, and go out there and do great things.